Welcome to this video. Today we talk about political parties for class 10, democratic politics. Democrat. We are studying about the outcome of democracy. How do we look at outcome of democracy? To understand the outcome of democracy, to assess the same, we look at from three different angles. What are the types of political parties that we have? What are the challenges that they have? And what reformation is required on these political parties? Why? Because political parties are the major pivot of a democratic politics. Democracies. So, what is the meaning of a political party? Political party is the most visible institution of democracy. Without political parties, there is no democracy. What is democracy? A government by the people, for the people, of the people. The individual citizens elect their representatives who form the government who will rule over them. That is democratic politics. So, political parties are a group of people. These people will share the ideals and ideologies. They will believe in the common policies which will help the common interest of the people. The group of people who come together, what will they do? They will stand together, fight the election, win the election, form the government, and then implement policies for the betterment of the larger number of people. That is the purpose or the goal of the political parties. Now, what they should have, they will have a constitution. Every political party will definitely have a constitution. They will have some leaders and some members. These people will believe or will draft and will publish certain policies, certain programs, certain procedures, certain way of achieving common good for the society. The political parties will have a constitution on how they will be governed, and they will also have a published agenda of policies and programs which they believe should be adopted for the betterment of the common people. They have some preferences for some sections of the society. Every political party will have some preferences for some sections of the society, not necessarily religious, not necessarily caste based, not necessarily race based, but definitely they will have preferences which it stands for the type of people or the group of people whom they want to support, what policies it will support. Maybe it is capitalistic policy, maybe it is communistic policy, and then whose interest it will uphold, for whom it is standing. There are political parties which support only women, right? The parties will have their own agenda. That is what it says, which part it stands for, which policies it will support, whose interest it will uphold. That is their preferences. Parties will have leaders, active members, followers, and then constitution. Most importantly, that is most important for any political party. Before election, they try to persuade the public that their plans are better. They try to persuade the public by conducting meetings, demonstrations, speeches, and gatherings and all. They persuade the public that their policies are better. After election, if they win, they will implement the policies. To win what they need popular support. So political party, if they have a popular support and if they win the election, they will implement their policies. They will try to implement their policies. They will try to keep the promises they made in their election manifesto. Now, what are the functions of the parties? First, they will recruit their leaders, train them, and make them ministers. Who are the candidates? Candidates are the people, the members of the political party, put forward by the party to fight an election and win for them. After they win, they will become member of the parliament or member of the legislature, etc. And then they may also become ministers. Candidates are put forward by political parties to contest the election. Among them, some are there as ministers after they are properly trained to uphold the ideals of the policy. During elections, the parties propagate the election manifesto. They announce, they publicize, they put forward their favorite policies. They also shape the public opinion. That is, they raise issues, highlight issues, and tell the public what is important for them in their for the overall well-being, for the larger interest. The activist, the lobbyist, the pressure group are all different arms and different forms of the political parties. The parties bring work together for what? They work with other parties or work among themselves or within themselves for bringing new laws or changing the old ones. They introduce bills, they support the bills or tear down the bills depending upon what they believe is to be preferred at a given point in time. Parties are the main channels through which there is a connection with the government. A person may not be able to go and meet the elected representative or the people in power. But through the party, through the local member or the local representative of the party, a public will be able to pass on his information or get some information from the government. So they are the channels of communication. They provide communication with the government machinery or the welfare scheme for them to flow. Parties help because parties will always be helpful to their members. When parties lose an election, they are more active than before. Why? Because they have to oppose the wrong policies of the ruling party. They have to prevent misgovernance. They have to and sometimes what happens is their active opposition prevents even governance. They make it difficult for governance. They keep on criticizing each and everything and stop every action of the government. That is the not the boon but bane of the political parties. The boon is they stop misgovernance. Why political parties are necessary? Political parties are necessary because without party there will be no common ideology. If there are no parties in India, you will not know what is left or what is right or what is center of the political divide. Independent candidates cannot promise too much. They can promise what they will do for the within the jurisdiction of the place where they are standing and winning the election. But from an overall state level, overall national level, what policies they should have, individuals cannot promise. Why? Because another individual will be promising something totally opposite to this, and then there will be no consensus. And because there is no consensus, no decision could be taken in a democracy. So, if you need to have a common policy, if you need to have a common ideology, if you need to pursue a common ideal, you need to have a political party. Then, if there are individuals, there will be too much competition among the candidates who will lead, who will have their policies implemented. There will be disagreements. Then, local interest will take precedence over common interest. Every village or every town will say, this is what we want, and they will not be interested in what is happening to other places. So, overall, common interest or optimum maximum, optimum minimum will not be happening. It will be happening only skewed development. Then elected representatives are accountable only to their constituency. But when you have a party, they are more collectively responsible to the whole electorate. Party is responsible to the whole state or a whole nation. In democracies, as societies become large and complex, there are multiple views, multiple expectations. And then, if there are multiple opinions, then you need to have certain groups called political parties which will spearhead those opinions or policies or views or the expectations and present it to the government. So, because of the different wants, different beliefs, different expectations, different backgrounds, because of the diversity, it is necessary to have different political parties. Political parties are the only mechanism to restrain the government. If there is a single party system, you cannot have restraints on the governments. To justify, to oppose, to promote whatever has to happen, individuals will be acting separately. Even a group of individuals, when they act as a party, it is different, but when they act just as a group, it is not that forceful. So, how many parties should we have? It depends, but in most of the democracies, you should ideally have more than one party. There are places with only single party system. For example, China has a single party system. Single party system means what? Only one party is allowed to fight the election or the run the government. It is not good for democracy because there is no fair chance for opposing views. There is no fair chance for competition. There is no room for a different ideology or a different policy or a different opinion or a different style of functioning. Then you have a two-party system. For example, UK and US, the Labour Party, the Conservative Party, the Republicans, the Democrats. So alternatively, these parties come into power. Power usually is shared between these two parties. Many times what happens, they have two houses and one of the party will be powerful in one of the house and the other party will be powerful in the other house. That also happens in a two-party system. What is a multi-party system? More parties are there. For example, in India, more than 750 political parties are registered by the Election Commission of India. Is it 750 better than 2? Maybe, may not be. India is a very big country, very large population, very different views, very diverse. We had 400 or 500 kingdoms when British were ruling in our British India period, 1600, 1700, 1800, etc. So when we got independence, it was with great difficulty that various statesmen, including Vallabhai Patel, Sardar Vallabhai Patel and others, brought together the whole of the country into one federal entity. So we have different people with the different languages, different religions, different culture, different background. You have tribals, you have caste, you have community, you have religious background, linguistic background, regional background, people in the hills, people on the coast, fishermen, artisans. Because of this diversity, there are different interests to be protected, different groups. And then every group feels the other group is not treating them as inclusive or having broad-mindedness or mindful of their needs and problems. So because of that, there are so many different parties. One. And another thing is there should be room for people to form a group and then enjoy their right to compete and get elected and have their views represented. So the right to have different interests, the right to express opinion, right to stand for election, right to have a political representation, right to organize themselves, right to fight and win elections and rule. All these rights for the people are what given rise to 750 plus parties in India. Right? What are coalition parties? Now, when one party has a large number of elected candidates, a large number of people, persons of candidates of one party wins, and if they have majority, then they will form the ruling party. If the absolute majority means what, more than 50% of the elected representatives. Majority means what, among the representatives elected, there are five parties which 10% each, and one party which 50% each, means the party with the 50% will have absolute majority. Now, if there are four parties with the 15% each and one party with the 40% elected, then the person with the 40%, though they are not 50, they will be the majority because others are only 15-15. So this 40 member party, 40 elected member party, 40 winning member party will form the government. There will be called the ruling party because they have the majority. Now, if for some reason it is not 40, it is only 30, and others are 15, 20, 15, 20, etc., then what happens? Nobody has a majority good enough to form a party. Because when you form a party, when you form a government with the 40 members, the other 60 members will vote against whatever you do. So you will not be able to go forward. It will be one step forward, two step backward situation. So what happens? The smaller parties who are having 10, 15 or 20 members will come together to form a coalition government. This coalition government will have, for example, 50% of the members. So one 15 member party and two 10 member party and one 20 member party will come together and form a coalition government. So they will have more than 50 members. They will form a government. Overall, together they have a majority and their policies can vote and pass in the parliament. But what happens? Others cannot oppose. But within this, because there are three groups, there will be different views, different principles, different ideologies. So they will have a common minimum program. So this is called a coalition of the parties when they form a government by coming together. This happens after the election. If the parties come together before the election, if they share the ideology or the manifesto, if they fight the election together by sharing the seats, then it is called an alliance or a front. It is not a coalition, it is an alliance or a front. Now, when you have an alliance or front, before the election itself, you agree how you are going to function, who will be your leader and things like that. For example, United Progressive Alliance, National Democratic Alliance are two big alliances in Indian national politics. India has a multi-party system because of the diversity of the views, the geography, the culture, the language, the region, the religion. Everything is different. The cultural insights are different. The backgrounds are different. The priorities of the different people are different. So we have different parties, and it is necessary to have a multi-party system for proper representation in the Indian ruling class. Erstwhile, national parties are facing crisis. The old national parties are facing a crisis today. What crisis? Unpopularity. The youth are not having any belief or liking for them, and there is indifference. Citizens are not willing to hear to them or respond to them. Why? Because they do not enjoy trust. Why? Because the level of participation of the people on with these or for these parties is unpredictable. The proportion of the numbers is not stable. People are cat on the wall types. People are not regularly supporting. These are the crises in the political parties today. Now in India, there are two major types of parties. One is called national party, one is called a regional party. Because in every federal system, you will have parties which have a different views at a national level, and so you have a national party, and then parties which have only a regional or a state view, which will be helpful for the people of that region. What is a national party? Election Commission of India recognizes a party as a national party if that party is able to win 6% of the votes polled. If they win 6% of the votes for a Lok Sabha. For a Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha election doesn't happen from the individual people voting. Rajya Sabha is voting by the MLAs and MPs. Lok Sabha is voting by the common man. So in Lok Sabha, if 6% of the votes are polled by a particular party, if they win at least 4 seats of Lok Sabha, not in the same state, in different state, if they win 4 seats in the Lok Sabha, then that party will be recognized as a national party. Now only official candidates of that party, national party or state party, can use the election symbol of that party. That is a plus point of having a recognized party. As of 2021, there are 8 national recognized parties, for example, BJP or a Congress or a Bahujan Samaj Party or a Communist Party of India or a Trinamool Congress or Nationalist Congress Party, etc. There are 8 parties which are recognized as national parties in India in 2021. They should win at least 4 Lok Sabha seats from 4 different or in 4 different states or 6% of the votes. Now, what are state parties? Regional parties are those that win at least, secure at least 6% of the votes in a state election. What is the state election? Legislature, not the council. Legislature, they should win 6% of the votes and at least 2 seats. And at least 2 seats. Then you will be recognized as state party. For example, DMK, Shiv Sena, Aam Aadmi Party are all state parties. Now, as a number of strength of the regional parties are more, if there are more regional parties, then what will happen? They will have more number of MLAs. If they have more number of MLAs, what will happen? Their MLAs are the one who are going to decide who will be the president or Rajya Sabha members. So, what will happen? Even if some other party is having more strength in the Lok Sabha, they will be friendly to the state parties. So, what will happen? There will be a stronger and a better federalism. So more number of influential regional party is good for the democracy. If there are only parties, if they are not winning, if they are not getting 6% of the votes, if they are not winning at least one seat in the state assembly, then having that party is not really helpful. Now these state parties come together to form a what in India today we call as a third front. For example, the Naidu's party in Andhra Pradesh, the Salin's party in Tamil Nadu, the Mamata's party in Bengal, or some other party in the Shiromani Akali Dal from Punjab. All these people come together and they then call, okay, we are not a group of NDA, we are not a group of UPA, we will form a third front. So if these regional parties are stronger, if these people have more base in the state, suppose if they are able to get some at least 33% of the vote of each of the state, then these people will be able to form a government far better than what UPA or NDA can do. That is the strength of regional parties in the Indian democracy. What are the challenges to political parties? The challenges are lack of internal democracy. That means what? Democracy is what the political parties are able to survive. If there is no democracy, there is no need for political party. But within the party, they don't have democracy. Power is concentrated in the hands of a few. The people, the members, the followers are not having a voice. There is no membership register. There is no organizational internal meeting. There is no internal election. There is no transparency. So within the party, there is no democracy. There is one major flaw. Second is dynastic succession. So if a person becomes a minister or a leader or a secretary or a president, then his son or daughter again will be having more powerful post. That is nepotism, unfair chance of favoring their friends and family. And the parties are not bothered about losing public support. Parties are more bothered or more interested in keeping their power and keeping their position and keeping their money control. Then money and muscle power. Money and muscle power means what? Political parties favor people who have money. Political parties favor the criminals because they are able to get things done. Sometimes a party fields a lot of criminals so that all of them will win the election. And then the people are left with no meaningful choice. People are left with no meaningful choice because the parties do not have much difference in their ideology. Because CPI and CPM have some of the things common among them. Congress and then for example Muslim League and then for example Agalidal may have a lot of things common among them. So there is no much difference in the policy or the ideology. Then leaders start shifting from one party to another. Who was yesterday a Congress leader can be today a BJP leader and tomorrow a Communist Party leader. So leaders keep on shifting and there is a political opportunism. Political opportunism. So people support not on based of the issues but on the personal gains. So because of all this, for the democracy to flourish well, there is a need for reformation of the political parties. Need for reformation. What types of reformation? One is the election laws has to be changed a little bit. How the election laws can be changed? Election laws, MPs and MLAs cannot change the party after the election. After winning, you cannot jump to another party. Why? Because we have seen if one party doesn't have majority, coalition has to be formed. So to prevent that, they will buy off the MLA MP from the other party and create a majority. So this is defection. To prevent that, there is a law. But even though there is a law, sometimes what happens, the party splits into two and forms a coalition. So instead of defection, it leads to split. Second is disproportionate wealth. Parties having a lot of wealth. People are saying 4,000 odd thousands of crore have been given by the rich businessmen to certain political party in the last 10 years. And then the individuals, the people in power also have a lot of wealth. So it is mandatory for the candidate to say how much wealth they have in as a declaration in the affidavit when they are fighting an election. But unfortunately, that is neither made public, or all the people, all the voters don't come to know. And even then, there is no audit or cross checking or verification of this. And then what happens, because agricultural income is tax free, all the politicians will declare all their income as an agricultural income. So they don't pay tax, they have money, and then there is no accounting for it. That is one problem. Second is income tax return. Neither the political powerful persons nor the political parties file their return. Even if the parties file their return, it is only for the sake of mandatory formality. The information is not properly revealed. So there is no transparency on where the funds came from or where the funds are going. That is a problem with the political parties. Then coming to elections, parties hold a staged organizational election. Within the party, when there is an election, they decide who will win, they decide to whom vote should be given, and they ensure their own people win the election. So it is a selection, not an election. Then what are the suggestions for reformation? The register of members should be made public. Then you will know who is from which party, so that there is no cross behavior. The source of income, so who the donors are and where the money is spent from, should be made public. There should be adherence to the constitution of that particular party, adherence to the constitution of their own party. Then there should be quota for women and other backward sections. Many political parties do not really help the downtrodden like the tribals. Top posts like president, secretary, etc. should be by a transparent election, not a managed selection. Then we should all remember, over regulation could be counterproductive. It will not be a democracy anymore if you have a over regulation. So that is it. Thanks for watching this video. Please keep come back for more such sessions.